Now at 5:30, in the wake of a violent string of deaths and disappearances, the long-awaited independent review of Fort Hood is set to be revealed today. Thanks for joining us on your Tuesday morning. I'm Lindsay Lippman. We join 25 News reporter Aaron Heft live from the Army Post with what to expect. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning, Lindsay. 28 soldiers have died while stationed on post this year. Now, today, the independent investigation reviewing the post culture and climate will be revealed to the public alongside an action plan to make sure this type of tragedy doesn't happen again. Names and faces splashed across your screen among tragedy. First missing, then found dead. Desperately stirring the public and military into change. In July, a 5-member expert team was assembled to review Fort Hood's command climate and culture to determine if it mirrored Army values, specifically safety, respect, inclusiveness, and a commitment to diversity. They spent just over 2 weeks on post. Then cut to mid-November, Secretary of the Army Ryan McCarthy announced the independent panel investigation into Fort Hood was complete and that it shows significant shortcomings on the part of Army leadership on post.
Vanessa's our teammate, and we let her down. We let her family down.
When we spoke last with Natalie Quam, attorney to the family of Specialist Vanessa Guillen, it was her hope the review would shed much-needed light.
We hope that we will all get to learn the truth and the facts as to what happened, not just to Vanessa Guillen, but to all the soldiers that went missing or died.
Now mere hours separate us from 3 Corps and Fort Hood's commanding general, Lieutenant General Pat White, addressing the world as to what they found on Fort Hood. The results of that review are to be revealed at 1:45 this afternoon. We will be in attendance in that press conference. We'll also be streaming it live for you to view. For now, live on Fort Hood, Aaron Heft, 25 News.
Aaron, thank you. We're getting some hints at what the action plan expected today could include. The Associated Press reports Army Secretary Ryan McCarthy will take administrative action to fire or suspend a significant number of officers and enlisted soldiers on Fort Hood. This will likely trigger investigations that could lead to a wide variety of punishments, from reprimands to military discharge. Officials say Lieutenant General Pat White will not face administrative action. However, others, like Major General Scott Efland, could face discipline. Lawmakers are closing in on a proposed COVID-19 relief bill that would provide weekly unemployment benefits, but not another round of direct stimulus payments. The $908 billion aid package would be attached to a larger year-end spending bill. Negotiators from both sides say direct payments would have to wait until after Joe Biden is inaugurated next month.
And I think we've got the top line numbers done. We are working right now on language so that we can have a piece of legislation.
Well, the bipartisan group is expected to release a section-by-section summary of their plan as soon as this week. Lawmakers remain divided, though, over a liability shield for coronavirus-related lawsuits and how to allocate funding for state and local governments. The federal government might be heading for a shutdown at the end of the week if Congress can't agree on a funding bill. Rather than passing a bill, lawmakers may push the deadline by voting on a 1-week extension of government funding, which would give negotiators more time to reach an agreement on stimulus legislation. It's 5:34. The U.S. reporting more than 1 million COVID-19 cases in the last week alone. That's more than any other week on record so far, according to the COVID Tracking Project. Emergency authorization for one vaccine could be given by the week's end, but this morning there are questions about just how limited doses to Americans could be. Here's ABC's Alex Perche.
With cases of COVID surging across the country, we're learning millions of Americans may now have to wait months longer to receive a vaccine because the U.S. opted to get fewer doses from Pfizer than it could have. The U.S. bought enough to vaccinate 50 million Americans. By contrast, the European Union bought enough for 100 million people with an option to buy more. Now, ABC News confirms the New York Times report that over the summer, Pfizer offered to sell the U.S. government additional doses, but the Trump administration turned them down. Other countries did buy in. Now, Pfizer says it might not be able to get the U.S. more doses until June of 2021. The White House denies the report, a senior official saying it wasn't willing to buy more vaccine doses without making sure it was authorized first. Officials with Operation Warp Speed also telling ABC News that because of vaccines from Moderna and other companies, they will have enough doses for every American who wants to be immunized. That as the country topped 1 million cases in the first 5 days of December. Doctors across the country are losing 90 Americans to the virus every hour. And the peak of the dreaded Thanksgiving surge is still a week away.
The problem is that's going to come right up to the beginning of the Christmas Hanukkah potential surge. So you have a surge upon a surge.
With the number of ICU beds in California dwindling, the state issued a 3-week stay-at-home order to save lives.
Honestly, whatever helps the spread stop, I'm fine with that.
I think it's overreaching.
New York following California's lead, warning it will close indoor dining in areas where hospitalization rates are on track to exceed 90%. Today, President Trump is expected to sign an executive order prioritizing Americans' access to COVID-19 vaccines over the U.S. helping other countries. What's unclear is if this is a response to the Pfizer supply issue or whether the president can prevent an American company from fulfilling lawful contracts with other countries. Alex Perche, ABC News, Washington.
Well, some of the first batches of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine will be coming to the Brazos Valley. Baylor Scott & White says its College Station Medical Center has plans for the first shipment. The hospital could get almost 1,000 doses. As the Baylor Scott & White Medical Center gets ready for these doses, who do Brazos Valley residents think, or what do they think about who should get the vaccine? Well, here's 25 News reporter Hallie Jones with those details.
Following Governor Greg Abbott's announcement last week of 1.4 million doses arriving this month to Texas, the Texas Department of State Health Services submitted the first week's allocation of COVID-19 vaccine to the CDC of 224,250 doses of the Pfizer vaccine, which will be shipped to 109 hospitals in 34 counties across the state as early as next week. Of the 109 hospitals, Baylor Scott & White Medical Center, College Station.
I think it's a good thing that it's coming to the Brazos Valley area, especially with the rise of the coronavirus in this area. I think it's a good thing, especially for our healthcare professionals.
Baylor Scott & White College Station is expected to receive 975 doses, which is the minimum order for the Pfizer vaccine. In a statement from Baylor Scott & White regarding what distribution will look like among their healthcare staff here in College Station, they said, quote, "We don't have information to share today, but we definitely want to participate in this story in the days ahead as our teams learn more and firm up the plans. We hope to have more information to share soon." CHI St. Joseph Health in Bryan was not on the list for week 1. Reporting in College Station, Hallie Jones, 25 News.
And we are learning more about the changes coming to the WACO transit system ahead of a planned public meeting on Thursday. WACO Transit's plans to change to a hub and spoke system, as it's called. The goal is to reduce waiting time for passengers. This special program has gained local interest in the community, and WACO Transit wants to learn more about the public's view on the BRT plan. It will discuss the plan at a virtual meeting that's on Thursday, but its real goal is to help find the best places for bus stops, mostly along Franklin Avenue.
While we're looking at individual stations along the corridor, people can give that feedback proactively about, their thoughts about this location or that location versus us putting a project together and then in retrospect they say, well, why didn't we do this or why didn't we do that?
Well, the meeting will start at 6 p.m. on Thursday and promises to answer any questions that the public might have about these changes. And here's a fun fact for your Tuesday. The oldest African-American Methodist church in Texas is right in our backyard in Belton. Nearly 200 years ago, the Mount Zion Methodist Church was built on the west side of Belton, and now it's in need of a facelift. With a rotting roof, crippling foundation, and limited fire safety measures, those with the church and Belton officials are seeking a $380,000 federal grant.
We are honored by the fact that the city is partnering and backing us up on this. It makes me feel like we matter.
Well, the grant is due next week, and the church will find out if they receive the money next summer. But for now, the church says any donations will help, and if the community wants to get involved, you can do so. Meantime, Baylor Scott and White Medical Center Hillcrest is holding its annual Christmas tree lighting ceremony. That's happening tonight. It will start at 6:30 p.m. and it will be a drive-through event. But Santa and Mrs. Claus will be there along with goodies for families. That event is free and it's open to the public, and it's expected to last about an hour. So see, we can still have holiday cheer even with COVID still here.
Yeah, and the weather I think is going to be pretty nice for that. I mean, you might want to have that heat dial on just a little bit, with temperatures probably still in the 60s and 50s at about 6:30, but this afternoon, yeah, it's back to 71 degrees. What month is it again? It is middle of December. Still have that light freeze possible this morning and probably a jacket or two by lunchtime, but short sleeves, you can probably break them out once again this afternoon. Radar is going to stay quiet for the next few days as we track our next storm system, not until Friday. And temperatures now, it's freezing in Lubbock at 31, 45 in Houston, and Dallas is at 41. Central Texas, we're right around the freezing mark, but I don't think we're going to have to worry too much about freezes this morning. Most of us are in the mid to upper 30s with a few low 40s on the map too, like Caldwell and Hamilton right now. Your high temperatures, we're going much higher than yesterday. We hit about 63 or 64, and we could be 10 degrees higher than that in some spots. 73 Killeen, Temple, Waco's at 71, 73 for Burnett, and 71 in Hamilton too, with your lows back into the mid to upper 30s tonight. Brazos Valley at 73 for a high temperature, a low of 42 tonight in Bryan College Station, and maybe some upper 60s there on the I-45 corridor. But the rest of us, it is going to be 70s today, especially across the state. San Antonio's up to 77. Austin will climb to 75. Dallas stays at 68. Houston's at 71. And then look what happens tomorrow. Everybody warms up. We're talking 80s now down on the international border and mid to upper 70s throughout the Texas Triangle too. So really for the next few days, take advantage of this weather outside because we've got changes again coming Friday. Weather and your health looking good too, and your sunburn time only at an hour. So here's our ridge coming off the Rockies. That's what drives our nice weather. Then we track our next disturbance coming out of the Pacific Ocean. And look at all that rainfall for the desert Southwest. It's bringing a lot of moisture with it. It'll merge with another system out of the north, so that's going to bring the cold air as we go into your weekend, and maybe a blockbuster snowstorm across parts of the Great Plains as well. Not in our forecast, but at least that cooler weather is going to be coming back, especially with the weekend. Highs falling into the 50s, and we'll let you know how long that will stick around. Your full 10-day forecast coming up in about 10 minutes.
Jordan, thank you. More than 2 million Texas households didn't always have enough food to eat last month. So coming up, we'll show you how a Central Texas food bank is making sure there's enough food for everyone. It's 5:43 on Good Morning Texas. It's 5:46 on your Tuesday. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, more than 2.5 million households in Texas didn't always have enough food to eat in November. And as the pandemic stretches on, the need only grows. 25 News reporter Abby Loring tells us how a food bank here in Central Texas is fighting to make sure there's enough food for everyone.
In November, Caritas saw lines backed up all the way down Webster with people waiting to receive food. And with Christmas just a few weeks away and kids out of school, the food bank is preparing for an even greater need this month. More than 3.8 million Texans have applied for unemployment benefits since March. And as federal and state funding for unemployment programs finish up, local food banks are expecting an even greater need leading into the new year.
We're seeing more families. We're seeing new families that have never been here before, that have never needed our services in the past.
In November alone, Caritas fed over 11,000 individuals. Over the course of the last 9 months, Owen said the food bank has continued to see a rise in new individuals needing help.
I expect that to increase as the pandemic keeps going on. We, like everyone else, thought it would be over by now, but as the longer we see it going on, the more economic impact we see it having on our clients, and we expect to see more and more.
As the need grows, USDA programs like Free Meals for All Kids, the Food Purchase and Distribution Program, and Farmers to Families Food Box Program will finish up at the end of the year. On top of all that, many food pantries have had to lose volunteers in order to free up space to abide by COVID-19 protocols. It is the season for giving, and I asked Owen what was the best way to give this holiday season, and she told me that Caritas is always accepting non-perishable food items and monetary donations as they prepare for another surge at the end of this month. Reporting in Waco, I'm Abby Loring, 25 News.
Abby, thank you. From dancing in the street to going for the gold, how a new Olympic event will make you bust a move. All right, okay, I see you. It's 5:48 on Good Morning Texas. It's 5:52. Legendary pilot Chuck Yeager, the first person to break the sound barrier, has died. His wife tweeted from Yeager's Twitter account that the World War II flying ace died Monday night at the age of 97. Yeager overcame a poverty-stricken upbringing in West Virginia to become one of the greatest pilots who ever lived. A preview of Chadwick Boseman's final film role, plus a blast from the past. Here's David Daniel with that and more in your look at entertainment this morning.
What is you? I don't see your name in lights.
Oh, I just play the piece, whatever they want. I don't criticize other people's